Hi guys, let me make sure that my mic is working today. I usually don't comment on potential castings, fan castings, or actors and actresses saying that they wish to play roles in Hollywood, as they rarely come to fruition. But lately, especially when it comes to comic book media, it seems that fan casting and wishful thinking has been happening a lot more than usual, and I wouldn't say that that is a good thing necessarily. But there was this one actor character pairing that came up the other day that really has me concerned that this could actually happen and that this would be the worst casting possible for it to happen. Cynthia Erivo has expressed interest in playing Storm. In fact, I would say she's been lobbying herself to play Storm, as she's been sharing pictures of the character on her Instagram after Wicked came out, and she says that this is a character with a lot of turmoil that has yet to be explored, that we haven't seen yet. And I would agree. I would agree that Storm is a character that hasn't been given good writing at all in either movies or cartoons, really ever, and I'll try to justify myself in a minute, but yeah, this is saying the right thing, that Storm is a character that we've barely scratched the surface of and not really serviced. And, however, I doubt that Cynthia Erivo has ever picked up a comic herself to understand who Storm actually is. And when I first saw this comment, I wanted to be charitable, and I originally did a tweet that said, oh, I'm listening if she's going to talk to her about the potential of the character that we haven't seen, but I was just trying to be charitable. I took down the tweet because it's not what I really think, and because I'm just like, no. In fact, Cynthia Erivo, I don't know what she's thinking. I don't think she's ever picked up a comic in her life. She likely just heard a Wikipedia summary or her agent give her a point breakdown of the character in order to play her, but no way Cynthia Erivo has ever actually read anything with Storm. Otherwise, she would understand that she is absolutely the wrong choice for her. And I should say that, to me, I think that she is the worst choice that could possibly play the character based on what we've seen from her. In fact, I don't know what Cynthia Erivo was really thinking. Well, I know what she was thinking. Actors do this whenever, or sometimes actors will do this when they've just gotten a role that's really put them on the map. Cynthia's thinking, hey, I'm on the map because of Wicked. I know that everyone knows that Marvel is prepping to potentially introduce mutant characters into the MCU. Storm is definitely the most high-profile black female superhero of all time, and so Cynthia shoots her shot. She thinks that she is just headlined a high-grossing movie, and that she could shoot her shot to play another major character, the most major black female superhero, if not the most major black hero in general. But I think that it may have backfired upon her, because she just happened to be a part of Wicked does not mean she is fit to play this role. So why is Cynthia Erivo the worst choice to play Storm? Well, I hate to say this, but unfortunately, when you position yourself to play such a character, you're opening yourself up to this criticism. Storm is supposed to be very, very, very beautiful. Now, you might be saying, oh, you're about to say, oh, Storm's supposed to be hot. She's not hot. No. You don't understand. If you read comics, then they will say Storm is the most beautiful woman in the world, according to the Marvel Universe. They say this many, many times. She is quite literally the goddess. There is a reason why Halle Berry, who literally still looks like a goddess at 60 now, I think she's in her 60s, still looks amazing. There's a reason why she was originally cast to play Storm, even though I would argue she wasn't really given anything to work with. Storm is referred to as the goddess for a reason, even though she isn't actually a goddess, but there is a very high expectations for the look of the character, and there are lots of actresses in Hollywood that I argue have that look, like Lupita Nyong'o. Oh, I'm so sorry, I butchered her name, I know that, but when I saw her in the Black Panther films, I'm just awestruck by the way she looks and by her beauty. And I'm not sure if she would be willing to play the role now because she's already played a character in the MCU, but like that's what we're thinking of when we're talking Storm. Cynthia Erivo does not have that look whatsoever. No, she is no Halle Berry. She is no Lupita. She has the furthest thing from that look at all. And in fact, if Cynthia wanted to proposition herself to play this character at all, I'm like, well, maybe, Cynthia usually has this very bald look, this very starved look, probably due to veganism or whatever it is, with acrylic nails. Cynthia does not present herself well at all. But even if she did, like even before she went with this look, Cynthia just does not have it in her to look like the goddess, right? And once again, it's difficult to scrutinize people for the way they look, but unfortunately that's part of the game in Hollywood. And if you're going to put yourself out there to play such a character that is literally described as the most a beautiful woman in the universe, according to the fiction, then you need to prepare for the scrutiny. And other actresses are very filled with humility about that. For example, Margot Robbie said that she auditioned to play the hottest blonde ever, according to Martin Scorsese, because her agent told her she should, just because they wanted to get a tape out there in hopes that Scorsese would see it. But Margot said she was insecure about it because she didn't see herself as the hottest blonde ever. So it's funny to see that even actresses who have that look about them even show some humility about that. But Cynthia should not have put herself out there like that if she did not want that kind of scrutiny. You need a Halle Berry type. You need a Lupita, right? I don't want to butcher her last name again. There are plenty of very, very attractive Black actresses working today that could pull off that look. And I also want to add, this is another reason why it was so ridiculous for her to proposition herself as this character. Cynthia Erivo is 38 already. She's going to be 40 soon. And I know this all depends perhaps on where they start X-Men when they come in, but I would imagine you might want to cast someone who's maybe in their late 20s or early 30s, not someone who's already going to be in their 40s by the time they start shooting. Like, these characters have to have longevity. These actors have to play them for a long time. It's kind of absurd that she would put herself out there to play this character when she's already middle-aged. Though I have an inkling about why she decided to put herself out there as this character like this. But okay, so Cynthia doesn't measure up when it comes to her looks. But what about her acting, right? What about who Cynthia is as a person and what that could bring to that role? Well, that's a whole nother topic now. Well, is it? Now, let's get into how the Storm character has been flanderized and misused over the years. The problem with Storm is oftentimes Storm's character isn't really given a character in media apart from comics. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen truly a good depiction of this character in terms of writing apart from comics. In cartoons and movies, and this goes back to even the very famous X-Men Task cartoon, which might have been the one to start this trend, Storm is just portrayed as the goddess, right? She's a kind, wise woman who does the best to take care of her friends and the people she cares about, and, doesn't let anything get in her way. All very well and good, except that's kind of a one-dimensional character. They've never really explored much about Storm. They had a nod to her claustrophobia in one episode of X-Men Task, but they've never really gotten into what her character is. Storm is a character that's been lost over the years. Who is Storm? Well, Storm, despite being referred to as a goddess and even worshipped as a goddess when she was younger, is not a goddess. She's just human. She was born in New York, for crying out loud, before moving to Africa. Storm is a character where, if we want to give an overview of who she is in comics, she's one who's fighting to be human. She's fighting against the notion of being a goddess. That's the entire reason where she got that look where she had the mohawk originally, even though there's been a lot of discourse about it. The point of that look in comics was that it was shocking for Storm from her teammates to be looking like that. But what Storm was doing with something radically different to make her just feel like a human and be herself and not have to live up to this image of goddess. However, this is not just simply a story of self-discovery where Storm finds her true self and is empowered. No, Storm seeking out to be more human actually doesn't lead her into positive places all the time. One of Storm's main characteristics in the comics is her temperament. She isn't always the wise woman. She isn't always the person who makes the right choices or who behaves motherly to others like she is in some of these other depictions. No, her temperament can really push her to be cruel at times or to not give others a chance. And it pushes her into conflict. And that temperament of the character has completely dropped by the wayside over the years. And why did that happen? Well, it could be several reasons, but I think part of the reason is because Storm is, as I said, the most iconic black female superhero, if not the most iconic black hero of all time. And sometimes when characters become icons and they become important, that makes people afraid to have them show vulnerabilities and real flaws and stuff like that. They just have to be the ideal. Storm has become idealized over the years, and we've lost the good character and the human character that she originally used to be, even though it's so ripe right now for a new writer or director to come in and do that with a movie depiction. I have very high standards for how they will depict all of these characters in movies. Now, here is my fear about what Cynthia should bring to the role. Now, she did a fine performance, and I praised her in Wicked. However, could she pull off all these nuances in Storm? I haven't really seen any evidence in that, but here's what I am really worried about in terms of Cynthia as a person and what she would do to Storm. Cynthia is a narcissist, a pretty big one that we saw during the press tour for Wicked.
As a black woman who is queer,
No,
who shows up in this way,
absolutely.
There's something that I have that many other alphabets don't have. They don't know what it is like to walk through the world like this. I do.
Yeah.
And so that innately, immediately makes me completely different.
That is insanely disrespectful to everyone who has come before to play the role of this character. Setting aside the fact that Cynthia Erivo is not the first non-white actor to play this character at all. It's an insanely narcissistic, disrespectful thing to say. Throughout the entire press tour of Wicked, Cynthia was really showering herself about how she understands this character and how she, with her experiences, really brings out that role of the oppressed person coming into their own. And it all just sounded so narcissistic. And setting aside the scandals that have happened with her and Ariana Grande being homewreckers behind the scenes, like, these people do not have a leg to stand on in terms of presenting themselves as these sort of moral arbiters and sort of this art and coming into your own and all these stuff. Like, that's how they act. Like, Ariana and Cynthia are always acting like hyping themselves up, like they have this character arc in real life of coming into their own that they're bringing to these characters. But they don't have a leg to stand on morally. And what I'm afraid of if Cynthia Erivo played Storm is that we would not get a nuanced Storm at all with those flaws that I'm talking about. We would get Cynthia Erivo turning it into another self-aggrandizing thing for herself, where it's all about Storm rising up above all and coming into herself, and this is who she really is. Even though the character in the comics is much, much more complex than that, which is the complexity that we're actually missing from these new depictions. Storm is much more than a goddess or the story of her, in terms of being a human being, and in terms of and she's more than just a story of coming into her own. It's more complicated than that. I think Cynthia wouldn't understand that. I think the reason that she wants to play Storm is because Storm is this big icon, and I think that she sees her as, another type of role where she could play the woman rising above and be the self-aggrandized character that she sees herself as. And that brings me to my final point, and that is Cynthia Erivo's PR with the fans. We all know about her accusing fans of erasing her for merely making a fan poster, or saying that she was being degraded through fans telling memes and jokes in good fun about her movie. Now, the Wicked fan base is incredibly cordial and lighthearted to see. Marvel Comics, Marvel fan base, superhero fans, they are 100 times more critical, 100 times more nitpicky. Like, part of the fun of being a fan of these things is you like to complain, you like to nitpick, you like to have everything perfect. Like, it is a hornet's nest for Marvel fans as opposed to Wicked fans. And if Cynthia cannot handle the Wicked fan base without throwing a tantrum, then how the heck does she think that she can handle Marvel fans or comic book fans in general? I think that this would be a horrible choice because I can't really see her as being able to handle everybody, being able to be respectful to what the fans want from these characters. I just can't see her living among them, so to speak. And I don't think that Cynthia has given an ounce of consideration to that or has given or has an ounce of understanding to that. And Marvel Marvel Studios, who really needs to desperately get some PR back for their projects, does not need this walking PR disaster where Wicked was successful in spite of her comments, not because of them or her behind-the-scenes drama, to be doing that. We don't need Cynthia Erivo to come on set with whoever has her co-star and use her as an emotional support animal like we saw with all the Ariana Grande stuff. Which I want to add to my final point is that yes, there are a lot of narcissists and people in Hollywood, and the old saying goes, you shouldn't idolize celebrities, but it's been a long time where I've seen people that are more of a turnoff in terms of like Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande and all their behind-the-scenes shenanigans. And at some point, like, I understand people have personal lives and flaws and all that, but there should be some accountability. Marvel should not look at Cynthia's behavior and say, yeah, let's cast her as the most iconic black female superhero of all time who is going to have billions of people watching her when we've seen this behavior from her in the past. Let's not cast her as a hero here. This is going to be a bad idea. And so, yeah, I think that there should be consequences for the way people treat audiences and treat fans and all of that. And Cynthia, by the way, has never apologized. She just said, maybe I should have talked to my friends about it first. It all came back to her. Cynthia should not, Erivo, doesn't have any business self-casting herself as Storm, and I think her doing so just goes back to speak to the woman that she is, that she thinks that she could play this role at this point. That's all I got for you guys today. What do you think of all this? Do you think I'm being too harsh on Cynthia? Do you think that I'm erasing Cynthia? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you, patrons, as always.